Yes, sir. What's up, YouTube? Afro Cuban here, and I am back. What's this, part 6 of what my DC movie universe would be like? Now, this is the series where I hypothetically reboot the DC universe and break down in order what movies I will put out and give you the details on the plot and synopsis of each film. Now, I'm not going to waste too much time. Y'all should already know what's coming next. My next movie in the series would be Wonder Woman. Now, her story is pivotal because we get a more in depth look into the stuff that's been going on behind the scenes. Now, first off, I like the concept of her being immortal. That's why this movie will be set during ancient Greek times when the old gods were still around. Wonder Woman will be the daughter of Zeus, but she doesn't know it. And as far as the main plot goes, the villain I would have would be Ares, the younger brother of Zeus. Now, in this, Ares is very jealous of his brother and seeks to overthrow his throne, but he's not strong enough to take it yet. So, when we first start off the movie, we'll get a semi origin story of Diana and the Themyscirians. This will be a darker and more mature version of Greek mythology. Basically, Zeus and the rest of the old gods are all men. And like mortal men, they all have sexual needs. So Zeus uses his god powers to create a race of strong, immortal females that him and the other gods can use as their sex slaves. Now, sidebar. Remember, to us humans, we're led to believe that Zeus is an all powerful, all merciful, perfect god with a good heart. But in reality, the real Zeus is cruel and unforgiving and rules with an iron fist. And he has selfish needs and desires of his own. Now, getting back to Themyscira. Basically, the Themyscirians, they were made to be immortal so that they can please the gods for all eternity. And they're also a lot stronger and durable than normal human women because their bodies must be able to endure sexual encounters from a god. Now, the gods were all forbidden by Zeus to impregnate any of the women because of the risk of creating a rogue hybrid. But Zeus goes against his own word and starts to develop feelings for one of the slaves by the name of Hippolyta. And together they birthed a daughter, a demigod, and they named her Diana. Now, the pregnancy was kept in secret from the other gods, and together they came up with the lie that she was sculpted from clay. Only Hippolyta, Zeus, and a handful of other Themyscirians knew the truth. Now, Diana was raised to believe that she was a normal Themyscirian, but deep down she knew she was different because even as a child, she was a lot stronger than any of the others. So now, getting back to the old gods. One day Zeus and his brother Ares get into a big argument because Ares finds out about Zeus's half-breed daughter and threatens to kill her because half-breeds are forbidden. This rule was set in stone by Zeus himself. So, as the argument continues, Zeus becomes very angry and strips Ares of his powers and banishes him. So now Ares is filled with so much hate and vengeance, and now believes that he should be the new king of the gods, because in his eyes, Zeus is a hypocrite. So now years go by, and the Themyscirians are no longer just sex slaves for the gods. They've trained themselves to become warriors, Amazon warriors. They've secluded themselves and now live on a remote island. Zeus uses his powers to make this island invisible to the human eye. Only a god can see Themyscira. And so, one day, Ares returns with new powers. It's unclear how he obtained these powers, but it's nothing the gods have ever seen before. His eyes are flaming red. His helmet and sword are also engulfed in flames. He uses his flaming sword to strike down and kill the gods one by one. So the more gods that die, the weaker Zeus becomes, because his life force comes from the other gods. So when Zeus is the only god left, he's too weak to defend himself against Ares. And Ares finally kills his brother and takes the throne. And so, with all the old gods dead, Ares now sets his sights on Themyscira, mainly Diana, because technically she's the only god left. He figures he'll kill Diana and rule Themyscira himself, and have a bunch of his own demigod children. So now we get into the third act. Ares invades Themyscira and tries to convince the women to give up Diana, and in return, they can all live by his side as his wives. But of course, they all refuse and challenge Ares. Ares gets very angry and his eyes start to glow red, and he begins slaughtering them one by one. Hippolyta knows Diana is the only one strong enough to stop Ares, so she finally reveals the truth. She tells Diana her true heritage. She's a half god, born of Zeus himself. And the real reason Zeus always feared the idea of a hybrid demigod was because they would have unlimited potential to be even stronger than a regular god. So basically, Diana is stronger than a god if she focuses her potential. Hippolyta then gives Diana a gift, weapons from Zeus that he gave to Hippolyta in case the time ever came where she needed to defend the island. The first was two indestructible bracelets, able to block or deflect any kind of weapon, whether it was created by a man or a god. The second, a powerful sword known as the God Killer, because it's strong enough to pierce the skin of a god. And finally, the lasso of Olympus. It was forged by the goddess of truth, Zeus's mother. So whenever it's controlled by Zeus or anyone in his bloodline, it glows a bright golden color and gives the user the ability to read minds or manipulate someone's inner inhibitions, such as changing someone's mood or making them tell the truth. And so now we finally get the big epic reveal of Wonder Woman in her full costume. Meanwhile, Ares is still attacking the Amazons, and right when he's about to kill another one, Diana swoops down and blocks the attack with her bracelets. Wonder Woman and Ares both stand to their feet and stare at each other. And then they face off. We get the huge final fight, and they're evenly matched. The fight goes on for almost a whole day. It seems to have no end, and now Diana is fatigued. Ares' new power doesn't seem to let him get fatigued or winded, as he states he can now fight for days and weeks on end without even breaking a sweat. So now Diana drops her sword. She seems to have yielded, and just as Ares walks towards Diana to finish her, she hears a voice in her head. It's Zeus. He tells her that he's made a lot of mistakes, but the one thing he knows for sure is that she was made for a reason. She embodies the best of him. These encouraging words from her father gives her the strength to pull out one last trick. She jumps in the air and begins to fly, and summons a giant bolt of lightning and absorbs it in her bracelets. She clinks her arms together and causes a massive thunderous shockwave that obliterates all of Ares' armor. So now Ares is left completely naked, on his knees, too weak to stand back up. He yells at Wonder Woman, "Finish me! It's what your father would have done! Kill me!" Diana lands in front of him and gently says, "I am not my father." Ares tries to grab his sword, and just then Wonder Woman quickly throws the lasso around him. She says, "I now compel you to speak the truth. Why did you kill all of the old gods? And where did you get this new power?" Ares screams in agony as he tries to resist the lasso, and then the fire in his eyes go blank. We get a brief moment of silence, and then a tear comes down his face. He looks up at Wonder Woman and he finally says, "There's a power, an old power, even older and stronger than the gods. The Omega Sanction, deep in the fiery pits of the abyss. No one was ever strong enough to control it until now." Ares starts to scream again as he tries to resist the lasso one more time. The lasso tightens around him. Diana walks closer and says, "Hera, The goddess of truth compels you. Now tell me. Ares has a look of sheer terror on his face. No one has ever seen a god afraid before. Ares looks at the ground and he says, He, I don't know, at first I thought he was a devil because he fed off my anger and greed. But he presented himself as a new god. He only gave me a small fraction of his Omega sanction, and I used it to kill my brothers. Wonder Woman then says, Why give you the power to kill the gods? What does he want? Ares then says, The gods, they were in his way, and now without them, there's nothing stopping him. Ugh, the equation. Ares immediately stops talking. He slowly looks up at Diana and whispers, No, no, no. I failed him. Ares then grabs his flaming sword and stabs himself. Wonder Woman and the remaining Amazons all look amongst themselves in confusion as the screen fades to black. We then cut to a scene of Wonder Woman talking to her mother. Hippolytus says, Now that there are no more gods, we must look to the future and embrace a new world. Diana then tells her mother that she must go to the world of man to find out more information about this new god and figure out what he's planning and how he can be stopped. Her mother and the other Amazons do not trust or care for the well-being of men because of all the years they've spent as sex slaves, so she refuses to let Diana go. But obviously Diana doesn't listen. When all of the other Amazons are asleep or distracted, she grabs her gear, takes a boat, and leaves the island. And the movie ends there. Now we cut to the end credit scene. It's present day. Diana has been living amongst us in secret this whole time. She works a day job as a mystic archaeologist. Basically, she travels the world searching for ancient artifacts, doing research on any relics that she finds that may have clues on this new god. And literally after centuries of work, she finally finds out about 3 magical boxes hidden on different planets. And when all 3 boxes are fused with the Omega Sanction, it grants the user the ability to control, destroy, or grant life as he or she sees fit anywhere in the universe. But there's a catch. Once the 3 boxes are combined, there's a universal enigma code that must be cracked. A puzzle containing words and fractions of all the different languages from each of the planets that held one of the boxes. An unsolvable equation. Wonder Woman then realizes that whoever this being is, if he is strong enough to control the Omega Sanction, he may be smart enough to crack the equation and control all life in the universe. And so now she has an idea of what she's up against, and she knows she's going to need help. So she does some more research on all of the heroes who's been showing up around the planet. She pulls out a newspaper. There's an article on Batman calling him a myth. She turns on the news, and in big bold letters, the headline says Savior, and they show a clip of Superman carrying an airplane. She takes out her phone and sees a viral video on social media. It's the Flash. He used his super speed to stop a tornado by running in the opposite motion. We then zoom in on Wonder Woman. She has a smile on her face, and we cut to black. Now, that is basically where the Wonder Woman movie would end. Like I said, her story is a little more pivotal because we dive a little more deeper into some of the stuff that's been going on behind the scenes. We get a better understanding of the big bad villain of this entire universe. We get a better look and understand of how he moves and how he thinks and how he's able to manipulate another god such as Ares. Yeah, that's basically the end of this video. I'm going to try to get started on the next one as soon as possible. Like always, any thoughts or comments, you know where to leave them. If you stuck through this entire video, I commend you and I thank you. And please subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one.